Welcome back, everybody. The History Guy here. It is time for Blackwater Heights as we continue this reboot of the Confederate campaign on Legendary Mode of Ultimate General Civil War. I've got about a 6,000 man advantage, and this is one of those familiar maps. I believe it's basically the same or very similar to what you see at Chickamauga later on in the war, the opening phases with this bridge crossing right here and the way it's all set up. It's basically the identical map right there. So we're basically going to use largely the same strategy that I used in the last battle, which is get across and then get around his left and then push him over that way. The only difference here, of course, is that there's not nearly as much room to do that, and I have to cross right in front of the enemy, so it's going to be a little uglier at the beginning. And then the objective's real close. So I'll show you some of the highlights. I have about a 6,000 man advantage. I'm really hopeful that I can hopefully annihilate his army or close to it again this time. Trying to drive those numbers down before we get to Chancellorsville as best I can. So let's have at it. Alright, so I'm slowly making my way forward, and just ran into his skirmishers, which always happens on this map, and we're going to start to engage him from across the river here. And I'm coming under his artillery fire for the first time. So what I want to do now is I'm going to deal with the skirmishers. I'm going to start moving up, and I'm going to get my artillery into position where they can begin firing. And I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of units of infantry up against the road here, and then begin the crossing process. Actually, I'm going to cross with 1-star units first, follow them up with the 2 stars. Make sure that my artillery is all ready to fire. 10-pounders, they should all be in range, but I'm going to move them up a little bit just to be sure. So we're going to get across quickly. Hopefully drive him out. And I just want to make sure I get everybody across as fast as I can. So we'll watch this crossing here. I should have rushed these guys up there before I even started crossing. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work out. And of course, here I've got a real problem, because no matter which way these guys face, they're going to be hit in their flank. So I need to quickly deal with that. Back up a little bit. I want to try and cover his flank before they get driven off. It's going to happen anyway. Alright, so the trickiest part's out of the way. Driving off these initial troops. Now we've got to get up into these woods and start pushing him out. Obviously, the worst of my casualties are behind me now, hopefully. I only lost about 1,200 men in that crossing. He's lost pretty close to the same amount. So now I've got to start organizing my advance. Oh, and it starts with these guys slowing the heck down. No. Why is my cavalry still marching forward? Get out of there. Alright, we got to start crossing everybody. I'll leapfrog some of my artillery. And now I've just got to get some support up here for these infantry units. And try to get around his flank as quickly as I can. I'm just going to start sending everybody that way. I don't know why Naylor turned. Alright, just 54 minutes to go. It doesn't give you a lot of extra time. I got to clear out some of these guys. Unfortunately, these guns are up in the woods, so I'm going to have to send infantry to deal with them because my cavalry won't be able to. But I'm starting to try to get my front opened up here so I can get an advantage. Hasn't happened so far. it's just a tricky one in terms of getting everybody where you want them. Finally got all my artillery up here. My general is not. Can't get these. Could not get these guys to turn, and now they're just getting lit up by the artillery. There we go, finally. So we'll send them up here now. They can deal with them. It's just a tricky map. Looking at the numbers now, he's lost about 2,000 men. I've lost 2,300. Well, this is interesting. He just came down and reoccupied these fortifications. That's not something that's going to go well for him, especially since I've got a whole mess of artillery down there, and I still have infantry down there as well. So that actually is going to work out nice for me. I'm still finally trying to track down dealing with this battery, which is finally going to allow me to get up here on his flank and start turning his flank with only a half hour to go. Took me that long just to get where I needed to be. And now I can get up here and get around him and start turning the flank. And I'm going to send, even though cavalry's not going to do real well in the woods, I'm still going to send them up there to try and grab those supplies. So this battery will finally be neutralized. And now we should see some success turning his flank. There we go. Alright, 16 minutes to go. I grabbed his supplies. I wiped out that battery. But now the problem is I'm not quite to the objective yet. Now, I'm hoping this is another battle that allows me to keep fighting after the timer runs out. But I still want to get the objective before that timer runs out. So as soon as I route these last couple of units, I should be able to move on the objective. Lots of fire coming in on him now, especially from my batteries. Alright, so here we go. 6 minutes to go now, and I'm pushing forward. I'm about to walk into the objective. Going to be getting into the open a little bit here, but I've got much more favorable ground now. I'm going to pull Hatch back just because he's not quite as strong in numbers as some of these other units. And there's some open ground up here. I might be able to make use of my cavalry if I can isolate some units. But for now we just start doing the Eastward March, much like I did on the last battle. I want to make sure I get everybody resupplied, so I'm going to send my supplies up. Numbers should start looking more and more favorable to me now. Taking out about 4,400 of his men. I've lost 3,000. Alright, so I've got some guys out here in the open. So what I want to try to do here is gang up on this brigade. If I can drive the brigade off, then my cavalry can have free rein coming in at that battery. He's got some cavalry as well, but not really doing much with them at the moment. So numbers are not real favorable for me on the right side, so I'm trying to push things on the left as much as I can. This brigade's falling back, so this may make it difficult. I might be better off here to use my cavalry here, where I've got infantry support. And then I just got to hope that this battery doesn't open up on them. I think we'll be okay, at least for a little while. Drove him back pretty far, took out a lot of his men. Oh man, there's another brigade right here, so I got to be careful. I'm going to pull the cavalry out. I was just starting to engage that battery, but I don't want to have this brigade turn and put a volley into my cavalry. So we'll just keep pressing forward with the infantry. Just got to be careful they don't get too far ahead of themselves. I'm just going to keep trying to bottle him in the corner, just like I did last time, if possible. Alright, continuing to press ahead. Now here's what the numbers look like. He's lost, well, about 8,200 men. He's down to just 11 guns. I've lost about 4,500 men. But it's really at the very end on these annihilation battles where you see the big difference in the numbers. And that's what I'm hoping to see happen here as well. It's a little trickier because these are all woods. And I don't really get any good spots with open ground where I can just pounce on him and quickly wipe him out with my cavalry. So we'll just keep marching forward. Looks like a good bit of him's bottled up right here in the middle. If I can fold these guys over, I can get around them. Continuing to push east, we're going to get him in open ground finally. I think I just wiped out that... I was just sending in my cavalry to deal with that battery, and I think my infantry wiped him out. But catching him in open ground is what I've been hoping for. Now I just need to isolate somebody. Just the one brigade over here. So I'm going to send the cavalry back and just see. There's his 2 units of mounted infantry, but they are not real good on melee combat. So, oh boy. But he's still got a number of pretty good sized brigades back there. Oh, he's still got 16,000 men. I don't quite outnumber him 2 to 1 yet. So there's a lot of men to still take out. Alright, now we're going to start tightening the noose. I'm going to drop Cable back just because he's a little lower and has been pretty heavily involved already. And get some of these 1-star units that still have 2,000 men in front of him. And now we're going to start causing some major casualties. I'll get my guns up, and then I shouldn't have to move them again. Alright, we've got him officially cornered. And at this point, he's down to 14,500 men. I've got him about 2 to 1 now. I'm thinking just because there's so many of them, that causing a surrender is a little unlikely at this point. But they'll definitely break. Move up the guns just a little bit more. And once they get routing, and then they're all up in that corner, kind of glitching away, that's where this gets to be ugly for him. And now he's down to just 13,000. Of course, the problem here is that I can only put so many units on him. I'm going to move the guns up one last time. Okay, so now all I'm waiting on is for the numbers to get low enough for me to feel like it's okay to send my cavalry in there to finish him off. He's still at 10,000 men. I gotta get up here with my supplies. Some of my units are starting to... Oh, my supplies are officially empty. So I'm just gonna have to use units that have available ammunition. He's at 9,800, 9,600. It's going to go down fast now because some of these units are going to break. He's still routing some of mine because he's still got more firepower in there than I can put around him in this tight little circle. But he's down to just 8,000 now. I only lost 1 gun in all of that, and that was probably when I moved him up nice and close here for canister fire. Alright, so the only thing left is the final tally, so we'll come back with that. So every volley now takes out massive amounts of his men. He's down to just 3,900, and I think I may be at the place where it's safe to send my cavalry in. because they're all broken at this point. Alright, let's see what happens. 3,500 or 3,600. 2,600. Come on, somebody surrender. One of my cavalry commanders was killed. I'm trying to get somebody to surrender so I can at least get that extra manpower. Alright, they all broke at the same time. Alright, so I lost 7,000 men. He lost over 20,000 when you add everybody up. Good day. Good day. 3-to-1 casualties. We will take that every day, twice on Sunday. Grabbed 2,300 Springfields. I now have about 3,000, maybe more Springfield 1861s. So that's enough to at least outfit a brigade. I also captured some more 20-pounder parrots, some more 10-pounder parrots. All good stuff. I got more major generals than I could possibly know what to do with. Look at some of the numbers here. Richards, 2,849 kills to just 890 losses. So a good day at Blackwater Heights for me. Let's take a look and see what the numbers look like. So at this point, I'm going to go economy. I need to start saving money on buying new equipment. He got 12,700 more men. So again, I barely put a dent in the size of his army. Just knocked it down by about 10,000 men that time. Rio Hill is not likely a battle that I'm going to inflict massive casualties on him. So I have to start looking ahead to Chancellorsville. Last time I was outnumbered pretty heavily and still was able to win. So I'm expecting to do more of the same this time around. So we'll come back with Rio Hill. So the Rio Hill situation looks like this. Almost 17,000 men for me, 11,000 for him. What I tried to do was make sure that I put my infantry units that had longer range weapons, so none of the Springfield 1842s that have like a 200, 250 yard range, because I know he's dealing with weapons that are very effective and very efficient in this battle and could otherwise really light me up. So I do not get to start with all of my troops. I did not max them out just because I'm already thinking ahead to Chancellorsville, where the lower those numbers are going to be, the better off I am for the first day of the battle because of the scaling. So I want to try and keep those numbers low, but high enough that I can still be effective. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to start with these 4 brigades, hang on for dear life until help arrives, and I really want to go with the best weapons that I've got. So not the 1841 Mississippis, not even the Enfields. Let's go with Springfield 1861s, Harper's Ferry 1855s. Those may be the only 2 that I've got. There's another Harper's Ferry unit. So I want to get the best weapons to start, and then the others can come up and support. All right, so I'm gonna sit back here in a battle line, let him come to me instead of trying to form that little circle where you get hit from every single side. Then my reinforcements will come from down here, and I'll be in a good position to then just march forward and take everything back. So that's kind of the plan. We'll see how it works out. Alright, and just as I finally start to engage the enemy, my reinforcements have arrived. I think he's got a battery over here somewhere, so it might be a good opportunity to immediately start using my cavalry and go deal with that battery quickly before he can do anything about it. I'm hoping there's no support for that battery, which I'm surprised that he wouldn't have somebody there, but works for me. And he's not going to even get a chance to fire on me before I hit him because he had to turn the guns. So now I just got to get up here, get in support. Right now my skirmishers are the only thing that are actually engaged. And that battery's toast. Alright. So far so good. Alright, looks like I'm finding another battery that's sitting by itself for some strange reason. As I start to advance my infantry. Oh no, he's not by himself this time. Okay. Let's get these guys out of the way. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and change up what I'm doing here. And instead of taking the cavalry back there to deal with those guys, Oh, nope, that's not going to work either. Oh, my goodness. All right, I think we just need to let the cavalry retire for now. They've lost over 100 men. I want to be cautious with them. So we're just going to deal with this with the infantry, I think. We'll keep pressing ahead. This is always such a dangerous map because you're dealing with all of these guys and they're repeating rifles. And a lot of them actually have the long, like those telescopic ones. And it's just a mess. Well, we capture some really cool weapons in this battle. So, alright, so we've taken out about 1,300 of his men. And we've lost about 1,100. So surprisingly, thus far, casualties are working in my favor, which I wasn't expecting. It doesn't always happen that way on this battle when you're dealing with 3-star skirmisher units like this. The good news is they're so small that some of them start to just disappear altogether pretty quickly. So you're suddenly dealing with fewer units. Alright, we captured the objective, the supplies. Now we're just going to keep pressing forward, a nice solid line, so he can't get on any of my flanks. Because that's the danger with these small units, is that it's so easy for them to get behind or on a flank and just cause nightmares. He's down to 7,300 men. I've got him 2-1 now. He's lost about 2,600. I've lost only about 1,600. He's got some supplies over here. I'm just being extra cautious because I've already lost a lot of cavalrymen. But I want to keep pressing ahead. Here they are. See if I can grab these things. And then I might be able to go ahead and get this battery. Just got to be really careful because there's a battery right there, and if he turns on me. Alright, perfect. I'm going to rush off with those supplies off that way. And I think I'll probably just kind of sit tight right here. If I advance too far, it's too easy for him to sneak behind me. So I want to stay nice and close to the objective. But I'm just going to sit tight now. I really don't want Stuart in those fortifications. And just let him come at me if he so chooses. I'm going to at least advance up on this side just so I can deal with these batteries. Now's probably the time I could have used my cavalry. Alright, cavalry's going to go ahead and gobble up battery number 1. And then they're going to come over here and gobble up battery number 2. I thought I put 2 cavalry in. But I guess for some reason I didn't. Because 2 would have been much more helpful. Alright, I think this is about as far as I want to advance with my right wing. Perfect. And we just gobbled up another unit too over here that disappeared. So he's down to just 3,000 men left. This one's going really well. Okay, so that one ended. And as you can see, 2,600 casualties for me. Again, over 6,000 for him when you add everything up. That's kind of how you want that one to go, really. About as well as can be expected. Grabbed some supplies. Got a few more of these big guns, which is really nice. Grabbed a bunch of these Frank Wessons, but very little else. So now we're all set up and ready to get into Chancellorsville, which is only a 2-corps battle. So I've got to kind of drop everything into my 1st and 2nd Corps. I'll get everything organized and ready to go. And we'll see what it looks like going into that one. But right now he's only at 69,000 men. I'm at 30,000. Most importantly, though, is the 12,000 that I've got sitting there. So that's only going to max me out at about 42,000, 43,000. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this. I can go 6 brigades per division if I go there, but I don't think I need to do that. So, all right, we'll get refit and ready for the Battle of Chancellorsville. All right, so here we go. This is what it looks like going into the Battle of Chancellorsville. He's got me better than 2-1. 73,000 men, 207 guns to my 34,000 men, 131 guns. Of course, I'm holding back a lot of my force until day 2 because of the scaling issues. So not a lot's going to happen here in part 1 of this battle. If anything interesting does happen, I'll show it to you, but otherwise we're probably going to pick things up right on day 2. Alright, so we've been engaging with these few advanced forces of his all along the way, and we're pushing them back, and I'll probably push right up to this edge and hold the trees, and if he wants to shoot it out with me there, that's fine because I'll have the advantage and I should be able to inflict some casualties on him. So I'm going to keep bringing my troops up, just build that battle line right there, but I'm not going to push toward the objectives. He just gets too many reinforcements by the time the day is done to justify trying to win this on day 1. I'm going for a battle of attrition. Alright, so most of my troops are starting to make their way up to the front. Things are pretty even right now, but that's as good as it's going to get for me in this first phase of the battle. Right now I'm focusing on, I'm holding back, I'm focusing on trying to take out some of his artillery. Once I have enough infantry, I'll move up to this line and drive all that artillery off. But I don't want to get all my infantry too close until that happens. Got a bunch of infantry coming up, a bunch more guns coming up over here on this side. All these units that are 500 men, those are units that I created new brigades that I will fill with reinforcements for day 2. Alright, so as I had hoped, just by bringing up plenty of infantry up to the line, I've driven off all his artillery, and now I can take my battle line right here up to the edge of these woods. I've got a ton of artillery. I'll start moving all them up. I'm going to make sure everybody stays in supply. But this is where I want to just try and inflict some damage, some attrition on him without sacrificing my troops with a frontal assault on a tough position. So he's going to start getting reinforcements. You can see already now he's up to 64,000. So if I would have pushed for that objective, I would have paid for it. So far, though, he's lost about 4,000 men. I've lost not quite 2,000. Those are the kind of odds I'll have to see all the way through the end of this battle if I'm going to have any chance. Okay, so one of the curious things about this new playthrough and being more aggressive is the fact that I have significantly reduced the size of his army, at least in the force pool. But in the process, by being much more aggressive, I've also kept my army smaller. I have about 10,000 fewer men available to me on May 2nd at Chancellorsville compared to what I had last time. I had about 55,000. He only had 80,000. This time he's got 86. Really not sure how that happens because he's actually got about 60,000 fewer men in his force pool. So honestly, to tell you the truth, this whole notion that somehow reducing his manpower actually helps me just doesn't seem to be panning out, because even though I've drastically reduced the number of men he has available, I still find myself at even more of a disadvantage. So instead of being down by 25,000 men on this second day of the battle, I'm outnumbered by 42,000 men. So I'm not sure how this is going to go. This may end up having to be one of those ones I play for a draw. I just don't think that outnumbered this heavily I'm going to be able to take that objective. But I'm going to give it a try, and we're going to see what happens. Alright, so finally making contact with the enemy here. I'm running out behind him and wiping out some batteries. Going to try to do the same to his infantry. I just was waiting for him to get driven out of the woods. So this is just really what I have to kind of hope I can do all the way along, is just isolate and destroy pockets of enemy, because he outnumbers me by so many men. And when he does things like this and attacks with one brigade, that certainly helps. Just got to be cautious here a little bit because I don't have a lot of men on my right side. And if he attacked in force, I'd be in a lot of trouble. But I think I'm okay. In fact, I think I can probably start shifting some units over a little bit. Wow, these guys are going to drag my cavalry all the way down south somewhere. But we will eliminate that brigade, and that'll start to close the gap and even these odds a little bit. He's up by about 22,000 men right now. Alright, so as I advance closer and closer to the objective, I just got pounced upon by Schimmelpfennig and 1,800 men. So we're going to come down here and deal with him. I think between the two infantry brigades and my cavalry, that should do the trick there. I, for the most part, though, have not made any contact with the enemy, except for little pockets here and there. So he's apparently successfully pulled most of them back. And he's advancing a lot over on this side. But I've got enough to hold. Alright, driving Schimmelpfennig off. I'm going to hold Hatch back here because he's got another infantry brigade that might give me some problems. I'm not going to let him drag my cavalry too far away, though. Alright, so it's getting dark. It's 8 o'clock p.m. now, so obviously I'm going to run out of time, just as Stonewall Jackson did in real life during this flanking maneuver, just as I get in sight of the crossroads, the Chancellor Farm. So unfortunately, that's kind of where this one's going to have to pick up for the last part of the battle. And he's hitting me pretty hard with a lot of really experienced units over here. And I'm once again trying to drive off these couple of pesky infantry units. But I'm going to have to disengage before I get pulled in too far. So I'll start pushing this here, but I'm going to run out of time in the next 19 minutes. But hopefully I can at least cause some casualties. Numbers-wise, he's got me by about 21,000 men. I've taken out quite a few of his guns, but the problem is I know that he's still got more men out there somewhere. So as we enter May 3rd, I'm outnumbered by 21,000 men, which is a significant disadvantage compared to where I was last time on this point in the battle, which, as I've said ad nauseum, just frustrates me to no end because I've actually inflicted way more casualties on him in the campaign so far. Just the way it kind of works out. So we'll press this, but not so much as to damage my army beyond repair. We'll just see if there's an opportunity that presents itself. So I'm hoping the one thing I may have in my favor is the ability to come at him from two sides and to concentrate my forces in one small area, whereas I think he's actually trying to defend a much larger area. I'm hoping that is what allows me to make the difference and win this battle. Gotta be super careful here because I don't want these cavalrymen getting dragged up into that infantry. But I'm going to keep pressing ahead, keep moving forward, and we're going to hope for the best. Closing in our two halves now, and this is going to give me the ability to send someone like Logan over here to get on the flank of these units and relieve a little bit of the pressure on my right side. I'm also, oh boy, maybe I'm not going to do that. Did not expect him to have a unit sitting down in here in these woods. So now that has to be dealt with. And unfortunately, the woods make it difficult to use the cavalry for this. That messes up my plans just a little bit. Unfortunately, it just makes it a little harder for me to close the gap up in here because I've got to worry about these guys. I have to drive them off first before I can push effectively up in here. Alright, now I can send Ransom down here and cover that flank. Now we can drive these guys off and hopefully push up in and take the objective. Alright, I'm routing these guys and I am pushing up in. I know I'm going to lose a lot of men, but I've got to hit this artillery and drive them off. And the only way to do that is to get in close enough with small arms fire to cause those batteries to withdraw. And that's going to cost me some casualties, but that's just the way it's got to be. Once I drive him off, things should get a little easier. Numbers wise, he's still outnumbering me by about 12,400 men or so. But this gets a little easier once I can push up from this side. Alright, this is a bloody mess, but it's working. I'm finally starting to drive off his defenses out of Chancellor's farm. And we're going to take the objective, but man, my army's going to be in rough shape by the time I get to Gettysburg. I'm going to pull these guys back. There's nothing to be gained by keeping them up there taking casualties at this point. I'm going to shift Forrest over, but these guys are going to fall back. And now I'll let him come at me. I'll bring all my artillery up as close as I can. Let him be the one to take casualties fighting for it. We're basically just going to shoot this out for the next 24 minutes. It's ugly. I mean, the only thing that I have going for me at this point in a shootout like this is that I have, I think, more artillery. I do. I've got about 25 more pieces of artillery than him. He's got almost twice as many men, though. I'm down to just 29,000 men. So hanging on for dear life with the few troops that I have to win a tough victory. We'll let this finish up and we'll see what the final numbers look like. Okay. Thank goodness it's over. My gosh. 19,000 casualties for him. I was probably closer to 20,000 because it never takes into consideration the troops that I add in the middle of the battle. But when you look at how badly I was outnumbered, I guess we have to be happy with that. I always hate Chancellorsville because as bloody as it is, you don't capture all that much in terms of weaponry. Actually, didn't lose a single officer killed. Had some wounded. Alright, so let's see where things stand as we wrap up this episode and we get ready for the Gettysburg campaign in the next one. Oh, that's right. We got to go right in the Battle of Salem Church. I always forget that it makes you do that right after the previous battle. That's going to be a tough one because I am definitely going to be outnumbered no matter what troops I bring into this battle. So we'll come back. I'll make Salem Church part of the next reboot episode, which will include everything going up to the Battle of Gettysburg. So as always, I welcome your input, your comments, your questions. Let me know in the comment section below, and we will see you next time. We're almost caught back up to where I was. We've got Gettysburg, and then we'll be into Chickamauga. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you again soon.